Hi, it's Gita. It's Monday, and that means it's time for Swamp Watch. In the swamp last week, ending February 16th, there were 13 executive orders signed. There were no new Supreme Court decisions. There was one new bill passed in the House. No bills were passed in the Senate, and no new bills were signed into law. Most of the 13 new executive actions probably aren't going to impact you. Paper straws got banned. U.S. companies are now allowed to bribe foreign officials in support of their foreign business dealings. There were more nominations sent to the Senate. Lots of cronies, lots of relatives, including Ivanka Trump's father-in-law. There were two bills which were kind of nothing bills. One of them banned schools from requiring students to have a COVID vaccine to attend school, but it doesn't actually seem that there are any schools that require a COVID vaccine. And then there was another executive action which established a commission to make the United States the dominant energy provider in the world. And check, that's done. The US has been the dominant energy provider for the last 7 years. Then there were the day one promises. Not many changes there in relation to last week, but there has been progress on one front, which is the Ukraine-Russia war, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then the thing that may really impact you is tariffs. So we'll get to that after. The U.S. handling of the conflict between the Ukraine and Russia seems to be making our alliance partners in Europe feel a little bit shaky and uncertain where that alliance stands. President Zelensky of Ukraine has called for an armed forces of Europe because he feels like U.S. support can no longer be depended upon. And President Macron of France called an emergency summit of European leaders with defense powers again to see what their future is going to look like, since it seems uncertain that U.S. support is a given anymore. Ukraine declined the U.S.'s request for 50% of its rare earth minerals because that request didn't come along with any security guarantees. I'm sure that's not the end of that conversation. And then, as we speak, U.S. and Russian officials are meeting in Saudi Arabia. That meeting doesn't include the Ukrainians, and it doesn't include any of our European partners. Aluminum and steel imports are mired in the swamp. President Trump imposed a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminum imports from all trading partners, and that is supposed to go into effect March 12th. It's not really clear if this is just a negotiating tactic or he actually intends to enforce these tariffs, because he does tend to use the threat of tariffs as a tool. So that's this week in the swamp in a nutshell, from the executive side and from the judicial side. In the next video, I'll recap what Congress did this week.